Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back. In today's video I thought it would be fun to do another book recommendation video. I don't think I've done a book recommendation in quite a while, so I thought it would be fun for the autumn, fall time. This is probably one of the biggest reading times of the year. I feel like a lot of people get into reading in the cozy months, the colder months, because there's less outside activities to do. So I thought it would be fun to do a recommendation video. Specifically today I wanted to do rainy day book recommendation video. So these are going to be books that I feel like are perfect for, especially if you live in the UK, the numerous rainy days that we get, especially this time of year. So before we get into the recommendations, when I was picking books, I kind of figured out that there were 3 different factors that I was kind of looking for when I was looking for a rainy day book recommendation, and I feel like a really good rainy day book would probably have all 3 of these, but equally I think if you find a book with just one of these things, it's a good option for a rainy day. We have vibe, and when I say vibe I mean like fitting the gloomy, rainy, dreary vibe. This is more of like a plot storyline kind of thing, an overall setting thing for the books. We also have readability. I think that this is very important, maybe underappreciated, because you might just go straight for like a vibe situation when really what we have to consider is, can I sit down for multiple hours and like fully absorb in this book? And then last but not least we have cozy, not to be confused for vibe. Cozy and vibe might seem interchangeable, but they are different. Cozy is like, this is a book that makes me want to curl up, I need a hot drink, I need a plate of cookies. Like this is the cozy vibes. I feel like difference with my first point of like a rainy vibe and then like cozy is the rainy vibe is more about like the content of the book, the setting, the storyline, all those things. Cozy is more of a feeling. Like sometimes you can't explain why a book makes you feel cozy, it just does. So yeah, those are the 3 factors that I'm looking for. I've actually broken my recommendations down into these 3 categories, so I'll be taking you through those. Obviously a lot of these books overlap in different sections. Some of them might be all 3 of them, all 3 of the different things, you know, blah blah blah. The overall thing that I would categorize them by, what I feel like is their most rainy day quality. Okay, that's better. I just turned my big light off. I feel like the lighting's a little bit more the vibe, although my face is kind of bright. Is my face too bright? Okay, so yeah, like I said, the first category that we're going to be looking at is vibe, the rainy, gloomy vibes. First book that I have for this is Never by Jessa Hastings. Less of like a direct, like you're gonna open this book and be like, oh my god, this is so gloomy, this is so bleh. This book overall has a kind of like mystical, upside down, just like wrong feeling. Like everything feels kind of wrong, which kind of pairs with like dreary, gloomy, like ugh, you know what I mean? This is a Peter Pan retelling by Jessa Hastings. It is not really a romance in my opinion, it's more just a fantasy. It probably goes in like a similar category for me to like Once Upon a Broken Heart, that trilogy, just in that it's very like upside down, kind of almost Alice in Wonderland-y, just in like that nothing is as it seems, everything feels a little bit wrong and like fake and like set up. I feel like this is a good option. Next we have The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is a series. I think there's 4 books in the series, but only the first 3 follow this couple, so you don't need to read the 4th one. I didn't read the 4th one. This series follows Calla, who just found out that her estranged father is, I think she finds out that he's sick, so she decides to go visit him and stay with him to kind of just like get to know him, I guess. The thing about her father is he is a like pilot, like a small plane pilot, and he is based in Alaska. So this is like very rural, not what Calla's used to. She's from, I think, Toronto or something, like a big city in Canada, I think. So this is very out of her realm of like usual. She goes to this new place and it is very dreary, gloomy, rainy, snowy, all of that thing. It's the weather is a very like key part of like what's happening in this book with the plot wise. I feel like it really fits that like I'm stuck inside kind of vibe of a rainy day. This is a great option. A nice little slow burn romance. Very nice, very cute, good option. This is a good one. We have the entire, well, 3 of the books in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I'm actually reading the 4th one right now, and it's been very rainy recently, and I can tell you, fits the vibe perfectly. So this is a series that follows Audrey Rose, who is this young woman in the 1800s. So it's kind of like Bridgerton-y vibes, like the setting of like familial relations and like society situations. She is a, God, what's it called? Mortician? What are they called? I don't know. People that like look at dead bodies. Like she investigates dead bodies of people who have been murdered and like investigate, try and figure out how they died and such things, you know, like dark shit. So yeah, that's what's happening in these books. We start in London. I think, where do they go in the second book? Romania. So we go to Romania in the second book, and then we go to New York and like Chicago in the last 2 books. So all of them have the very like industrial kind of like Victorian city setting, or like a dark stormy castle. So it is very dark, gloomy, dreary vibe, and really quite good. I enjoyed this series, so this is a good option. Next we have the Truly Devious series. This is like the trilogy, and then it continues on. Specifically the trilogy I feel like is perfect for a rainy day because, again, the setting. We're following Stevie Bell in this book, who has been accepted to Ellingham Academy, which is like a school for the brilliant. It's very much like you apply, very few people get accepted, and whatever it is that you do, we will cater to and like help you develop your craft. Ellingham Academy is almost like a character in itself in this book. It's like an ever-changing kind of like very mysterious place that we explore through these books. Stevie Bell is she wants to be a detective. So this is a YA mystery. We're investigating a murder, but I just think the setting of Ellingham Academy, it is, now what in the world was that? It's in the mountains in Vermont. It's very rural, so it's kind of giving like that stuck inside during the rain kind of like vibe. The weather is rainy, dreary, snowy, crazy. I think it fits the vibe. Next we have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This, out of all the books, encompasses the dreary, gloomy, dark, rainy vibe better than anything else, any of the other ones. Weather is such a key component of this story, and like specifically like crazy rain is such a key component of the story. I think it's a perfect fit for a rainy day. If you're not scared of rain, if you're scared of rain, then this would probably actually freak you out. In this book we follow Effie, I think her name is, and Effie loves fairy tales, specifically fairy tales from this one specific author she is very, very into. She is also I think architecture student at this university. She wanted to be an English student, but women were not allowed into the English program. For some reason they let them into the architecture program though. I don't know why. Effie gets the opportunity through her architecture studies to go and redesign her favourite author's familial home. So she goes, and it is just a bit of a crazy mystery, and it's like the line between fairy tale and reality is very much blurred. Crazy weather is a major theme in this book, so I think it's perfect for a rainy day. And then last but not least, we have the Infernal Devices trilogy, but this comes before the Multiple Instruments. It's kind of like setting up the shadow hunters, I guess. And yeah, we're following Tessa Gray, who is what appears to be a human, and she just ends up getting caught up in the Shadowhunter world, and it's really, really wild and crazy. We don't really need to get into it too much, but that is what's going on. This is set in, again, in like Victorian England, so very industrial, dark, gloomy. Where's the sun? We don't know. It never seems to be here. And also just like the fantasy element, I think, is also great for a rainy day. Did I tell you that I'm wearing my pajamas? I feel like I should have mentioned that. I thought wearing my like autumnal pajamas was on theme, so I hope that you haven't been sat there thinking, why is she wearing her pajamas right now? That's kind of strange. I hope you just understood that I'm dressing for the vibe. I'm an artiste. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about readability. This to me is honestly maybe the most important factor, because as much as you want your book to fit the vibe of the day, I feel like books can transport you anywhere. So even if it doesn't really fit the rainy cozy vibe that you are kind of looking for, I think it can still be a really great escape and a good read for this scenario, because I think the most important thing is just a book that is going to absorb you so much that you don't want to put it down. So my recommendations for that, first things first, oh god, we have the Boys of Tommen series, specifically the first 4 books, even more specifically the first and the third book. Anytime that you have hours and hours that you want to fill up with reading, as much as maybe just looking at it you wouldn't initially reach for it, because this is a very long series. Every single book is over, I think, 600, 700 pages, every single book. So it is kind of crazy to pick up, I guess. I can almost guarantee if you're going to enjoy these books, you are going to enjoy them from the first page. They are going to immediately grab your interest and you aren't going to want to put them down for hours. These are the kind of books that make you like forget your responsibilities for the rest of the day. So I think for a day when you don't have any responsibilities and you just want to fill time, this is a fantastic series. So in the first 2 books we are following Johnny and Shannon. They're both in high school and Johnny is a rugby player. Yeah, he is very, very good at rugby. He's like getting scouted to play for Ireland. Like he's really sick and he's very popular and he's very cool. Shannon gets transferred to his school, which is like the nice school in town, and little Shannon is very sweet, shy, and she's got a lot of trauma going on, and Johnny just kind of like sees Shannon and immediately just kind of like clings to her. It's great. It's great. These are definitely character books, not plot books, but the ones that I usually can just like get completely lost in. Great. The next 2 books follow Joey, who is Shannon's brother, and then Ether, who is his girlfriend. Just as good. Love them all. Okay, so next we have the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. Not only are these books the most gorgeous books you've ever seen in your life, like, are we kidding? Are we kidding with these covers? These are fantastic books. So fast paced and so jumpy is the only word that I can think of to describe it. Like, you will not get bored with these books. Once you've started reading them, you will not want to put it down because it's just going to move so quickly. You will not have a chance to get bored. We start the first book off with Evangeline Fox, and Evangeline is very sad because her true love, as far as she's concerned, has gone off and is gonna get married to someone else, and she's like, what the fuck, that's not right, that's my true love, this is not okay. So she goes to the like temple, the church of the Prince of Hearts, and she's like praying, like, do something about this, and he's like, all right, I'll do something. That's the start, but by like literally 70 pages into the first book we are somewhere completely else because it moves so fast. I was truly like shocked by how quickly these books moved, because something that like can bother me sometimes in books is when I feel like the pace isn't quick enough. I hate it when they tell me that something's going to happen in a chapter and then it takes like 5 chapters for us to get to that thing happening. I'm like, don't tell me that something's going to happen unless it's about to happen, because everything that happens in between, I don't care. I don't know why I'm like that, but that's just how I am. This moved so much quicker than I would have ever even expected. Fantastic, loved it, great. Definitely perfect for a rainy day in my personal opinion. The next book that we have is Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. Now, to be really honest, I don't remember that much about this book. We meet Charlotte, and Charlotte is very sad, and Charlotte wants to oh, trigger warning. Yeah, no, trigger warning for this book, actually. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. This book is triggering, very triggering. But let's just say that Charlotte ends up on the roof of her school one night, and she bumps into someone else on the roof, Kellen, who is there for similar reasons. And they end up deciding, let's just meet up here every single year and see how each other are doing. That's what they do. And then they do that for a while, and then they stop doing that for reasons. Fast forward like many a year, Charlotte meets Kellen's older brother, and that's where we go on from there. Moving on. This book is like good but really bad reality television. You know what I mean? It's the kind of TV that, like, when you're not watching it, you're like, oh god, am I gonna put that back on? Like, am I really gonna put that back on? That made me really frustrated. That was so dumb, that was so stupid. But when you're watching it, it's like the best thing you've ever seen. It is, you cannot take your eyes off. That was this. I actually read this book during a 24-hour reading challenge, and it made it very easy for me because I could not take my eyes off the page. Once I was done, I was like, what was that? I don't know if that was a good book, but I couldn't take my eyes off it. So next we have another series. I don't have the first book in this series on me. When I read the first book, I like annotated it for my sister as a gift, so I never bought myself the first copy of this series, but whatever, who cares. This is the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is like teenage criminal minds. That is just the best way to explain it. Each book follows a different case. There's like a little bit of romance. It's really great. Again, this is just another one that is like very fast paced and just like kind of, I think, pretty different to anything else that I've ever read. Like Teenage Criminal Minds, that's a pretty unique plot. Anything unique is naturally going to be more interesting and keep you more engaged. I think it's the perfect book for if you need something that's going to keep you really, really interested, because very fast paced, lots of really interesting characters, little bits of drama and stuff, which I think drama's good for keeping you engaged. Yeah, really great. Love this. And then last but not least for readability, I don't have a copy of this, but I am going to be recommending the Mindfuck series. If you're not aware of the Mindfuck series, I'm pretty sure you can get it on Kindle Unlimited, so I would recommend. This is like 5 books that are all under 200 pages, some more like 100 pages. This is fucking crazy. Similarly to the Naturals, it's just such a unique, fast-paced, like what the fuck kind of plot that you cannot take your eyes off the book. So we meet this girl, Lena, in, I think she's in a coffee shop, and we meet her at the same time as, I forget his name, but this hotshot detective for the FBI. We meet her at the same time that he meets her. We're following kind of both of these interchangeably. And they immediately are like, ooh, kind of like into each other. Let's go on a date kind of vibes. Really nice, really cute, blah, blah, blah. And just for us to find out that Lena is a serial killer. Not only is she a serial killer, but she is the serial killer that this detective guy is like searching for. So throughout the whole series, we're watching like them fall in love, number one, him try and find this serial killer, him kind of like getting closer and closer, but then also is he getting closer and closer? And then her like also falling in love with this guy, killing these people, finding out why she's killing these people, us like kind of sympathizing and understanding and being like, okay girl, you do what you gotta do kind of vibes. And then like evading her fucking boyfriend the whole time. Crazy. I actually reread this series earlier this year, and maybe another reread is due, because that is fucking crazy. It's just such a perfect mix of like mystery, murder, and romance. Like all those things smashed into one, equally present in the series. Bueno. Mwah. It's like good reality TV. That's like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 4. That's what that is. That's good reality TV. And then last but not least, we are going to be going through some of my cozier recommendations. The first book that I picked out for this was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is a romance. I feel like this is a very popular romance. You may have read this book before, but if you haven't, let me just persuade you to, I guess. We're following Bree. She's just moved to this small town in Maine, and she's kind of like running from her trauma and stuff. Like she's not doing too great. She meets this guy who immediately they have like kind of a strange first interaction. He's just a little bit off, and she's kind of like taken aback by the first meeting, so she asks around about him, and people are like, oh no, don't go anywhere near him, leave him alone. But she's kind of like, no, I want to find out a bit more. She kind of like makes an effort to get to know this guy, Archer, who cannot really communicate with anybody else in town, but turns out she knows sign language and he communicates through sign language. So immediately he has this like point of communication with this new person. He hasn't really been able to talk to anyone for a very, very long time, and now he has this like new friend, and they just like fall in love, heal each other, is this the most healthy romance in the world? I'm not gonna lie, it's not. It's not the most healthy thing. People can say what they want. The bond that these two grow to have is not healthy. It verges on like, you're the only thing that makes me happy, like kind of situations, and it's not. But what it is the sweetest, cutest, most cozy little hug of a book in the world. This book is just a little sweet hug. It makes you feel nice and warm and pleasant, and I think it's perfect for a rainy day when you just want to cuddle up with a sweet little book. Following on with the theme of sweet and cute and cozy, we have The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. It's by Laurie Gilmore. I read this really recently and I was expecting this to just be like pure just vibes at the absolute best. I was like, probably not going to be that good, but maybe it'll just give me a little bit of an autumn vibe. This was really sweet, cute and lovely. I had a really good time reading it. It's a solid romance in my opinion, with all of like the autumn cozy vibes that you want. Live, laugh, love. We're following Jeannie, who has just moved to a small town to run her aunt's cafe, and she meets Logan, who is described as a flannel wearing farmer. We just watch them fall in love. That's what this is. And do small town things. This is the ultimate out of all of these, like just like cozy romance. Sit by a fire with a hot drink and some cookies. That's what this is. Read it if that's what you want. Next I have a duology, which is Divine Rivals, specifically the first book I'm really mainly focusing on, but we do have Ruthless Vows as well. It's a fantasy world really, but it's clear that it's kind of like based off of like in London, kind of like wartime. That is what it's giving. Think like Winston Churchill, like that is the vibe. We're following Iris, who is a writer, and she ends up becoming a wartime correspondent and like going into the kind of war-torn places, obviously document what's happening and send it back to the newspapers. There's a little bit of a magical element with some letters, and there's a very good romance, okay? I don't know if this is just a me thing or if this is an everyone thing, but something about this kind of setting, this time, like a World War I, World War II vibe setting, feels cozy and comforting to me. That sounds crazy. I don't know why that is, but just like this era, any historical fiction, like books or movies or anything that I can get surrounding this, just make me feel comforted. I don't know why. I was thinking about this earlier. I think it might be because a lot of the movies and stuff that I watched as a child maybe had a lot of this. Like I remember watching a Peter Pan. I don't know if it was the original Peter Pan or if it was like a Peter Pan 2 situation, or if it was like a bootleg Peter Pan. I have no idea what it was, but I remember it starting in like London wartime, and something about just the vibe, I don't know, it's comforting to me. It's cozy to me. It's a very cozy, comforting books for me. If that is a universal feeling, then maybe you'll feel the same, but I don't know, this is a long shot. But these are great books anyway, so you should read them. Next, I have a fantasy series here for you because I think cozy and fantasy go hand in hand. I feel like that's obvious to everyone, but I didn't want to just like pull out all of the standard fantasies because I haven't really delved that far into fantasy. I need to get into it more because I do love reading my fantasy books. I decided to just pick the series that I think is the coziest for me, the most like I would want to read on a rainy day, and I ended up going with Throne of Glass. I think that this series really thematically and like vibe wise gives gloomy, dark, cozy, forest, industrial, like it hits all the marks that I want for like a cozy rainy day in a book. Specifically the books in the series that I think best do that, we have Assassin's Blade, we have Throne of Glass, Heir of Fire, and then Queen of Shadows. You know, like in this series we are either in like an industrial city or we're in a gloomy forest, like, or we're sat by a fire. Like those are the only places that we can be. I think that this is perfect for for a rainy day. And I think if you're wanting to start any series at this time of the year and you haven't read A Throne of Glass, this one. For me, ACOTAR, summer, probably because I read it summer. ACOTAR's summer for me, Throne of Glass is autumn, winter. So, final recommendation, I wanted to give something that was a more light-hearted, easy to consume side. We have Funny Story by Emily Henry. Honestly, I was just like looking at all my favorite authors and I was like, okay, I want to pick one book from like the Abby Jimenez, Ali Hazelwood, Emily Henry trifecta that is my personal favorite. What is the book that I think fits the cozy vibes best? And I went with Funny Story. Most of Emily Henry's books definitely are more summery, but this one I feel like can fit the cozy autumn vibe if you want it to, because you know, they're going to like the winery and like fucking, it's not like particularly like summery like activities. I think it works. So out of all Emery Henry, Ali Hazelwood, Abby Jimenez books, this is the one that I'd most recommend for a cozy day vibe. So we're following Daphne, who has a fiance and a whole life and blah blah blah, but then her fiance decides to tell her that he is in love with his girl best friend. Crazy wild, and Daphne needs to get the fuck out basically. So Daphne gets the fuck out. She ends up moving in with Miles, who is the girl best friend's now ex-boyfriend, and they just kind of like slowly form this like really nice friendship. Miles is kind of like trying to show Daphne around, trying to help her like fall in love with where they live, and then they slowly fall in love with each other, and it's beautiful and wonderful and lovely. So Funny Story. That's all my recommendations for a rainy day. I think you just need a book that can keep your attention. That is most important. But yeah, I hope you were able to find a book in there that piqued your interest. That is gonna be it. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. All of these books are great books. I would recommend all of them, obviously. That's why I'm recommending them. It's fucking stupid. That's it. Thank you for watching. Go watch some of my other videos, subscribe, all those things. And that's gonna be it. Thank you. Bye.